Hello everybody and welcome back to WaverlyReads. Today I decided I'm going to make this video just for the fun of it, scrolling around booktube a lot lately, and that is 25 bookish facts about me. I've been trying to come up with this list all day long and I've finally done it, so here it is. I prefer to read hardbacks. This is a very rare thing among book readers. A lot of people prefer to read a paperback but prefer to own a hardback. But with me, I personally just prefer to read a hardback. There's less damage that can happen to the book. The spine won't crack and it won't get like damaged like with the folded cover and stuff like that from carrying it around. And hardback books are just genuinely more easier to read because you can open them, not having to sit there like this and just trying to read like this. It's near enough impossible. My longest reading slump was 1.5 years. Yes, a year and a half I didn't read at all. I tried so hard and I just couldn't. I couldn't read more than half of a book and it was torture. Then I got into reading again this year and I was like, yay, I'm back. I was in kind of a depression slump and that's probably why. I am a sucker for cover buys. I do this way too much. I see a book that looks pretty, sometimes I won't even read like the back and I will just buy it. I am so bad for it. I don't particularly like to eat or drink whilst I'm reading just because I'm afraid of the damage it might do to the book should I spill anything on it. I buy most of my books online or from thrift stores. Occasionally I will listen along to the audiobook whilst I'm actually reading the book. I don't know why, it just kind of gives me like the feel of like group reading. I don't know. First ever complete series I finished was Cirque du Freak by Darren Shan. I love those books. They have a very important place in my heart just because they're the first series I ever finished and they're actually the first books I cried at. I find it so hard to read books that are written in the third person point of view. If it's not I and me and it's like she and he and they, it kind of puts me off because I can't fully engage myself into that character. In a good hour of reading, I will read around 50 to 80 pages. This is kind of weird, but if I can't have my book with me, I will use my phone and I will take pictures and like then read through the pages on my phone. I usually take around 30 pictures, so that's 30 pages, and if I can't have my book with me, I'll just read it on that, and it actually helps quite a bit. This is going to probably lose me subscribers and friends and everything in between, but I'm not that big of a fan of Harry Potter. It didn't stick with me the way it does with a lot of people who have read it. I did enjoy it and I do like it. I'm just not obsessed with it and I'm not in love with it. So now that everyone who hates me is gone, glad you're still here. I will push myself to read a book even if I do not like it. It recently happened with a book I read and I got about 50 pages and I'm just like, this book is going nowhere. Literally nothing has happened. The storyline is not making any sense at all. But I finished it and it gave me a sense of accomplishment because I finished this really boring book that I was not enjoying. I can't really reread books unless I really enjoyed them or I haven't read them in a very long time. This is really weird and people are probably going to judge me for this, but when I am reading a book, I become that character whilst I'm reading it, and even in my everyday life. I was reading the Divergent trilogy, I became Triss. And I was walking down like dressed like Dauntless and I was like, yeah, I'm this awesome person. Like when I used to go down to the shop with my grandma, I used to pretend that she used to be Dauntless but she got old so she took the factionless way out, and I used to meet up with her and I shaming myself. I can see you, Imogen, I can see you sat there. In high school, when we did tutorial, which was basically just registration for an hour, we used to have a reading day. And instead of sitting at the tables in the library where everyone else used to sit and was required to sit, my librarian would allow me to go to the back of the library in a corner and just sit on the ground and read just because I could focus more and it was a lot more comfortable for me to do it that way. Kind of linked into that last one, I volunteered all of my free time at school in the library, helping the librarian sort through books or just reading or just doing librarian related things. I checked in books, I checked out books, I put new books onto the system, I took a few books off the system and I organised the shelves. It was so fun and I would love to get a career in that. It'd be fab. When I'm in the bath, 90% of the time I'm in that bath is spent reading and 10% is spent washing and doing the rest of the stuff. I cry in most books that I read. It kind of ties in with becoming the characters because I feel their emotions, and if they're upset, I'm just like bawling. I try to read at least 100 pages per day. When I first originally read The Fault in Our Stars, I read it by an audiobook. And when it got to that certain part in the book, you all know what I'm talking about, I bawled like a freaking baby. And it was being read to me. So it wasn't stopped being read to me, and it just kept coming, and it made my emotions even worse, and I started crying, and I was bawling, and it was like 4 AM. I've only met one author. At the time, I didn't know who he was. He came to my school to like do an interview for the press, and I was like involved in that just because I knew the librarian. And to this day, I kind of still don't know who he is. His name is Andy Briggs, and he wrote like villain.net and hero.net and stuff like that, and I had no idea who he was, and I still don't. Whoops. I am so ashamed of this one. When I was younger, I used to dog ear my pages and always read the last page before I started the book. I don't know what I was doing. I don't know what I was thinking. If I did that now, I would probably stab myself. Probably. Or at least mentally stab myself. Because, you know, if I stab myself, I won't be able to read more books. This one's kind of weird, but I've never dreamcasted whilst I was reading, just because I find it really hard to get like facial features in my mind. I guess I'm much more of an emotional reader rather than like seeing it in my head. The only book I've actually dreamcasted was after I'd read it, and that was Marked by PC and Kristen Cast. I am always late to bandwagons. Like, everyone's already read this book and moved on to something else, and I'm just there like, hey, is this book any good? Well, there's like 6 books in the series, one has just come out, and I am on the first one. Like, oh. Shout out to you, Cassandra Clare. And the last one, I think, if I counted right, is I'm actually a part published author with a group called First Story. I did this in high school, year 9 or year 10, somewhere along those lines. And we, as a group, wrote a book called #Trending. Shakira was involved, and Shakira's sister was involved, and a group of other kids were involved, and it was fabulous. We've all got poems and like short stories in here, and actually the first chapter of the first book I ever wrote is in this book, and I think it's like great. It's got poems in it and short stories in it, and it's a good book, and I think that a lot of people would enjoy it, and it's the cover is so pretty. I really enjoyed it. It was a really good experience, and I'm actually part published now, so yay! I'm kind of an author that didn't make any money, just got a hell of a lot of experience. So those are 25 bookish facts about moi. Please comment down below a bookish fact that you find interesting about you, or is kind of unusual from other bookish facts. Do you do differently? Please subscribe if you haven't already, and give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it. Thank you for watching. I am Waverly, and now I'm off to read. Bye!